Millions of Americans were watching their television screens. One man was about to make history again. Some people called him a hero. Others called him the most controversial politician in America. But one question remained. Who is Donald J. Trump? How did a young boy from Queens, New York, become one of the most powerful and talked about people in the world? Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York City. His father, Fred Trump, was one of New York's most successful real estate developers, building thousands of homes for middle-class families. His mother, Mary and MacLeod Trump, had immigrated from Scotland in search of a better life. Donald grew up with 4 siblings in a family where success, discipline, and hard work were expected. Even as a child, he was energetic, confident, and highly competitive. He loved proving himself. He hated losing, but his strong personality often got him into trouble at school. When Donald was 13 years old, his parents made a decision that changed his life forever. Instead of keeping him at home, they enrolled him in the New York Military Academy. For most teenagers, military school would have felt like punishment. For Donald, every morning started before sunrise. Every uniform had to be perfect. Every mistake had consequences. The discipline was tough. The competition was even tougher. Instead of giving up, Donald adapted. He pushed himself harder every day. He wanted to be the best. His classmates remembered one thing about him. He always wanted to win. Those years built the confidence and determination that would stay with him for the rest of his life. But after graduating from the academy, Donald knew his biggest challenge. After graduating from the New York Military Academy, Donald Trump enrolled at Fordham University in New York. 2 years later, he transferred to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, one of America's most respected business schools. There, he studied economics. But Donald wasn't interested in becoming an ordinary businessman. His dream was much bigger. He wanted to build buildings that people would recognize around the world. In 1968, after graduating from Wharton, Donald joined his father's real estate company. At the time, the business focused mainly on affordable housing in Brooklyn and Queens. It was already successful, but Donald believed the future wasn't in the suburbs. It was in Manhattan. Back then, Manhattan was considered the center of power, money, and opportunity. Many people thought the young businessman was taking a huge risk, but Donald saw something they didn't. He believed New York's skyline could become his biggest opportunity. His first major breakthrough came in the 1970s when he helped transform the old Commodore Hotel near Grand Central Terminal. The abandoned building was renovated and reopened as the Grand Hyatt Hotel. The project attracted national attention. For the first time, people across America started noticing the name Donald Trump. It was more than just another successful building. It marked the beginning of a brand that Donald wanted the entire world to recognize. And soon, he would begin work on the project that would make his name impossible to ignore. Trump Tower. The success of the Grand Hyatt Hotel gave Donald Trump something he had been chasing for years. Attention. But for Donald, one successful project wasn't enough. He wanted to build something that would carry his own name. In the late 1970s, he purchased a prime piece of land on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. Many experts believed the project was too expensive, too risky, and too ambitious. Donald ignored the warnings. He believed the building would become a symbol of luxury and success. After years of construction, in 1983, Trump Tower officially opened. The 58-story skyscraper immediately became one of the most recognizable buildings in New York City. Its golden interiors, luxury apartments, high-end stores, and famous glass atrium attracted celebrities, business leaders, and tourists from around the world. Suddenly, the name Trump was everywhere. Newspapers featured him. Television networks interviewed him. Magazines called him one of America's most ambitious businessmen. Donald wasn't just selling buildings anymore. He was building a personal brand, a brand that represented wealth, luxury, and success. It seemed like everything he touched turned into gold. But behind the glamorous headlines, a financial storm was quietly beginning to grow. One that would soon put everything he had built at risk. For a while, It seemed like Donald Trump couldn't fail. He expanded into luxury hotels, casinos, airlines, and some of the biggest real estate projects in America. His name became a global brand, but success came with a price. To finance his growing empire, Trump borrowed billions of dollars. Then, in the early 1990s, the American economy slowed down. The real estate market crashed. Property values dropped. Businesses struggled. And Trump's empire was hit hard. Several of his casinos lost millions of dollars. His airline failed. Debt kept growing. At one point, he owed more than $3 billion. Many newspapers predicted the same thing. Donald Trump was finished. Critics believed he would never recover. But instead of giving up, Trump sat down with his lenders. He negotiated new agreements, sold some assets, cut costs, and slowly began rebuilding his business. It wasn't a quick comeback. It took years. But once again, Donald Trump refused to quit. The businessman that many believed was finished was preparing for an even bigger comeback, one that wouldn't happen in real estate, but on television. By the early 2000s, Donald Trump had rebuilt much of his business empire. But this time, he wasn't just known in boardrooms. He was becoming a household name. In 2004, a new television show changed everything. The Apprentice. The idea was simple. Contestants competed for the chance to work for Donald Trump. Every challenge tested their business skills, their leadership, and their ability to perform under pressure. At the end of each episode, one contestant faced Trump in the boardroom. Then came the words that became famous around the world. "You're fired." The show became a massive success. Millions of people watched every week. Trump's popularity grew far beyond the real estate industry. He was no longer just a businessman. He had become a television celebrity. His books sold millions of copies. He gave speeches across the country. His name appeared on hotels, golf courses, office buildings, and products around the world. To many people, Donald Trump represented the American dream. But others questioned his business style, his public comments, and his larger-than-life personality. No one knew it yet, but television fame was only preparing him for his biggest stage. Not business, not entertainment, but politics. And in 2015, Donald Trump made an announcement that shocked the entire world. On June 16, 2015, Donald Trump walked down the golden escalator inside Trump Tower in New York City. Thousands of cameras were waiting. Most people believed he was about to make another business announcement. Instead, he announced that he was running for president of the United States. Almost immediately, the media exploded. Many political experts laughed. Some said his campaign wouldn't last a few months. Others believed a businessman with no previous political office had no chance of becoming president. But Donald Trump continued traveling across America. He held massive rallies. He promised stronger border security, bringing manufacturing jobs back to America, and putting America first. His direct speaking style attracted millions of supporters. At the same time, his speeches and public statements also drew strong criticism. The country became deeply divided. Supporters believed he was saying what other politicians wouldn't. Critics argued that many of his comments were offensive or too controversial. As the Republican primary elections continued, one experienced politician after another was defeated. Against nearly every prediction, Donald Trump won the Republican nomination for president. Now, only one opponent stood between him and the White House: former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The election that followed would become one of the most dramatic in modern American history. Election Day arrived. November 8, 2016. Millions of Americans cast their votes. Most national polls predicted that Hillary Clinton would win. As the first results came in, the race looked close. Then, state after state began turning in Donald Trump's favor. Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. The political map was changing before everyone's eyes. News networks that had expected a different outcome were forced to rewrite their headlines. Late that night, Donald Trump secured enough electoral college votes to become the 45th president of the United States. For his supporters, it was a historic victory. For his opponents, it came as a complete shock. The businessman with no previous experience in elected office had reached the White House. On January 20th, 2017, Donald Trump took the oath of office as president. From his very first days in office, he moved quickly. He signed a series of executive orders, changed immigration policies, reduced certain federal regulations, and promoted his America First agenda. Supporters praised him for acting on campaign promises. Critics argued that many of his decisions were too divisive. Almost every move he made became headline news. No matter where people stood, one thing was clear. Donald Trump had become one of the most talked about presidents in American history. But an even bigger political battle was waiting just ahead, one that would test his presidency and reshape American politics for years to come. As the 2020 election approached, America was facing one of the most difficult periods in its modern history. The COVID-19 pandemic, economic uncertainty, and nationwide political tensions dominated the campaign. Donald Trump sought a second term in office. His opponent was former Vice President Joe Biden. After one of the most closely watched elections in American history, Joe Biden won the Electoral College. Trump challenged the outcome in courts and publicly argued that there had been widespread problems with the election process. The courts did not overturn the election results, and Biden was certified as the winner. On January 20th, 2021, Donald Trump left the White House. Many political analysts believed his political career was over. But Donald Trump had other plans. He continued holding rallies across the country. Millions of supporters continued attending his events. Then came the 2024 presidential election. Once again, Donald Trump became the Republican Party's nominee. The campaign attracted worldwide attention. Supporters believed he could return to the White House. Critics strongly opposed another Trump presidency. When the votes were counted, Donald Trump won the election and returned to the White House, becoming only the second U.S. president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. It was one of the most remarkable political comebacks in American history. Love him or criticize him, Donald J. Trump has changed American politics in ways that will be debated for generations. From a young boy in Queens, to a real estate billionaire, to a television star, and ultimately, President of the United States. His story is one of ambition, risk, success, failure, and whether history remembers him as a hero, a controversial leader, or something in between, the final judgment belongs to time.